The world had been watching the Vatican for days. Millions of eyes from every corner of the earth were waiting for smoke to rise from that small chimney on the Sistine Chapel roof. Every second, cameras zoomed in on the old brick walls of the Vatican City. Journalists whispered updates, and people in the square below prayed, cried, and hoped. Something big was happening. The old Pope was gone, and a new era was about to begin. But no one, absolutely no one, expected what came next. It started with the smoke. First grey, then black, then finally white. The signal was clear. A new Pope had been elected. Bells rang wildly across Rome. The crowd erupted with cheers. Flags waved, cameras flashed. People hugged strangers. Reporters raced to go live. The energy in St. Peter's Square was electric. The world had waited for this moment, but it had no idea just how shocking this moment would be. Then the curtains of the famous balcony were pulled back. A tall figure appeared. People squinted. Some thought they recognized the face, but their minds couldn't process it. This man wasn't one of the cardinals everyone had predicted. He wasn't from Italy or Spain or even Africa. He wasn't the front runner. He wasn't even close. But here he was, dressed in white, smiling humbly, as the crowd slowly began to understand who they were looking at. His name was Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a humble man from the Philippines, soft-spoken, warm-hearted, a man many thought was too kind, too quiet, too humble to lead the most powerful church in the world. But the cardinals inside the conclave had seen something different. They had seen strength in his humility, wisdom in his simplicity, fire in his quiet voice. And now, he was the new pope, the first Filipino pope, the first Asian pope in over 1,000 years. And perhaps the most surprising choice the church had ever made. The moment he stepped onto the balcony, the world held its breath. He looked over the massive crowd, then gently raised his hand to wave. He didn't speak at first. He just stood there, eyes calm, like he was carrying every prayer and every pain in the world on his shoulders. Then finally he leaned forward, and he said something that no one will ever forget. "Brothers and sisters, I am not here to be served, I am here to serve." The crowd went silent. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Quiet, gentle, like a whisper in the middle of a storm. But it hit harder than any speech. People cried. Others dropped to their knees. This wasn't just a new pope. This was a new spirit, a new beginning. And then came the announcement. Pope Louis, that's what people started calling him, didn't wait weeks to make changes. He didn't play politics. He didn't hide behind walls. He came out with fire. On the very first day of his papacy, he announced something so bold, so unexpected, that it sent shockwaves through the entire Catholic world. He said the church needed to heal. He said the world was in pain and the church couldn't stay silent anymore. He said too many people had been hurt, too many lives broken, too many hearts closed because the church had forgotten how to listen. He said it was time for the church to open its doors wide open, and he meant it. He announced a global mission, a year of listening. A year where every bishop, priest, nun, and layperson would be called to go out. Into the streets, into the villages, into the slums, into the prisons, into the homes of the poor and the lonely. And just listen. Not preach, not argue, not condemn, just listen. He called it the year of mercy and tears. He said, before we can speak of God's love, we must weep with those who suffer. And that was just the beginning. The world didn't know what to do with this pope. He didn't live in the grand papal apartment. He refused it. He stayed in a small room, the same one he had used as a cardinal. He didn't want bodyguards. He didn't want luxury. He was seen walking alone in the gardens late at night, praying under the stars. He ate with janitors, kissed the feet of refugees, and showed up unannounced at hospitals and homeless shelters. People were stunned. Was this real? Could this man actually be the Pope? But then came the second announcement, even bigger than the first. He called for a gathering, not just any gathering, a council, a global council of the church, something that hadn't happened in over 50 years. He wanted every voice heard. Not just cardinals in red robes, but mothers, teachers, farmers, youth leaders, people with disabilities, people who had left the church, even people of other religions. He said, "We cannot claim to be the body of Christ if parts of the body are ignored." This was revolutionary, and it caused chaos behind the scenes. Some cardinals were furious. Some bishops refused. Whispers of rebellion spread through old halls. People said he was moving too fast, breaking too many rules, shaking the church to its core. But Pope Louis didn't stop. He knew what he was doing. He said the church had become a museum, beautiful but silent, and he wanted it to become a field hospital, messy but alive. He didn't speak with the voice of a ruler. He spoke like a father, a friend, a brother. He talked about his mother, who used to sell food on the street. He talked about his childhood, how he grew up in a house with holes in the roof. He told stories about love, forgiveness, doubt, and dreams. And people listened. For the first time, in years, churches began to fill again. Young people came back, the poor felt seen. Even critics of religion said they were moved, but not everyone was happy. Deep within the Vatican, there were those who wanted him gone. They said he was too soft, too modern, too emotional. They tried to block his plans. They spread rumors. They even launched secret investigations to find dirt on him. But nothing stuck. Why? Because the world was watching. And the world had fallen in love with this humble pope who smiled like a child and cried like a mother. And then he made his third announcement, one that would change history forever.